Right. And I think it's really important that you made that choice to make it gynocentric instead of androcentric when you had the choice between the two. Because, yeah, as you pointed out, like often women get discluded from clinical research studies or studies like involving physiology. And so, yeah, no, I mean, so you brought representation, which is super
Yeah, you know, that's important. We're the lab that I did this in was all female, so it was really important for us to always have female representation. So it's good to have the feminist approach, I think.
Right,
Groups
and
too.
then yeah, I also have another question, which is that I think this is pretty novel, at least to me. For some, I wouldn't say like the world, like I haven't read every single research paper out there regarding insulin and its pathways, but it was super interesting to see how you chose to analyze insulin's effects like only on the brain when it's primarily and canonically known to be like something that affects the periphery so much. Do we know anything about the molecular pathways of like how insulin affects the brain, or like yeah, which parts of it, and like just yeah, anything of that sort?
Yeah, okay. I'm not so sure about the molecular pathways, but I think that it's probably having an interaction in the brain with dopamine because there's a lot of documented kind of functionality with and a lot in the dopaminergic areas. So it probably is influencing reward a lot through the interaction with dopamine. And there has been some studies that have looked at that in mice and rats, but I don't know as much about that. But probably, and there's a lot of evidence for memory and Alzheimer's. It's also being piloted for Alzheimer's treatment. So I imagine that it's doing maybe different things depending on what you're looking at. But I think that it seems like the striatum and the prefrontal cortex are probably key areas influencing the reward and the memory. But I'm not as sure about the molecular.
It would be I think it would just be interesting to find out whether it works as like a some kind of modulator and like which specific pathway. If it's in
Mhm.
rewards, and it might be wow. Yeah, I'd have to think about that for a second, but yeah, no, but I think this would be like an interesting venue of like research. Maybe I'm thinking about that because that's my major, like molecular
Oh, okay,
biology.
that makes sense. Yeah. All right. Well,
But
that is not mine. So that's great. Yeah. In my head. That's good though.
yeah. And I do also have some questions about yourself. I think that our viewers would definitely be able to learn a lot from it. So just in general, like what got you into studying like neuroscience, and I'm guessing the work that you also do is maybe if even if it's not neuroscience but in biology today. Yeah, when do you think you made that choice and what informed that decision?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. So I think that I never once thought that I would do science or research at all during high school. I always knew that I wanted to like go to college, and but I thought I was going to be a therapist the whole time. And then I did my so I always did have an interest in nutrition, and but I thought I was going to be an eating disorder therapist. So that's why I had done a minor in nutrition as well. And a part of me thought about being a dietitian, and I was double majoring for a moment, and then I said no. So I was like, okay, I'll just do eating disorders. So then I done my clinical psychology degree, and I ended up working for a year at the psychiatric hospital after it. And I had a lot of kind of diverse clients, and I did get a lot of value from it, but I think I was craving more intellectual curiosity probably. And I had done an internship at Cornell whenever I was in my master's degree doing my clinical psych degree, and I ended up loving it. It was all about nutrition and kind of eating behavior and how can we reduce weight. And it was just a weird hobby that I chose to do. And I'm really glad I did it because I think it opened up this love of research. And then I was taking on more independent research projects in my department because I wanted to do a PhD, and you kind of have to have a diverse, CV. And I just thought I was going to be doing it for the CV, really. But then I ended up catching the bug, and eventually I was like, oh, I can't believe it, but I think I'm going to do a PhD in research and leave therapy, because the whole time I thought I was going to do a PhD just in therapy. And I was really surprised. I think I still surprised myself that I ended up in science. But it's kind of addictive in a weird way. I love it now. And yeah, so I did my PhD in eating behavior, and it was a logical step for me because I had focused so much on eating disorder therapy. So I thought, okay, I'll look at this in normal kind of, well, quote unquote normal, but like non-disordered eating states. But so I did this study, which was more the kind of normal eating behavior. And then I had another study where I looked at binge eating. So it was kind of the merging of, I guess, my clinical background. And then as I was going through it, everyone kept talking about like the gut microbiome, and it was really in. So I read a book, and I read my current postdoc supervisor's book about how the gut microbiome communicates with the brain, and it's really important for obesity and eating behavior as well. And so then I was like, oh, neuroscience has been great. I've liked it, but I think, and it's still neuroscience, I suppose, the current one, but definitely probably less. And it's more nutrition and biology focused now. But I just wanted to, I think I focused a lot on the brain during my PhD, and I wanted to look more at the body now. And we will start looking at the gut communication with the brain. And probably here in a year, I'll start doing EEG to look at the brain recordings during like this gut targeted intervention of fermented foods and everything. So I hope to bring it back and merge everything together. But yeah, now I'm doing my postdoc in the gut microbiome, but I am still carrying on a lot of the eating behavior skills that I learned and cognition. But I think it's just nice to kind of allow yourself to go wherever interests you. Because I think if I would have just maybe said, oh, I'm going to be a therapist and that's that, I wouldn't have done research. And I took on the research opportunities, not at all thinking I would like it, ended up loving it. And then I just read a random book one day, and then, ended up loving the gut microbiome. So I guess it's just good to stay open-minded, I think, is probably my lesson from it all. And it takes you down different turns in different countries. And yeah, it's been fun.
I think that's that's definitely like super commendable, because you not only like decided to listen to your like whatever it was, I don't know if it's like your heart or your brain that's telling you I really like this, but you
Yeah.
were willing to go to another country to pursue it. That's yeah, that's
Well,
definitely
it was a nice opportunity. I think if you ever get the opportunity to move abroad, I would say do it. But it is a privilege. It's not so easy to do. Getting visas are actually a lot of work. But if you can do it, I encourage it, because it's really just opens up your mind, and you realize how much academia is a really international field. And I mean, the US has probably the best chunk of great schools, obviously, but there's a lot of great unis out there too, out in the world. So yeah, I'm really grateful. And I never thought I'd live in Ireland or the UK, and it's fun. I think that's the real fun aspect of research, is the collaborations that you get to make and all the different places you can see.
yeah, like being able to travel and meet people from other areas and see different cultures, most certainly. And for many of our viewers would be in like the pre-collegiate stage, so they're maybe in like high school, maybe community college. Do you have any like advice for them if they think that this is something that interests them? How could they pursue it further? Maybe even get involved at this age?
Yeah, that's a great question. Okay, so if you're in high school, well, I think oh, it's tricky because I wasn't thinking at all about research whenever I was in high school. But generally, I think once you go to college or start looking at colleges, you can maybe try to get on with a mentor. So that's what I did. I just really hassled a lot of my professors, and generally they want the help. As long as you're going to be a good student, they want more help. And I just tried it out. And that's the thing, I think, trying it out and just seeing what you like and don't like, and just listening to that in a non-judgmental way, and allowing yourself to change fluidly, because you might find, I have a lot of friends that have gotten into science and not liked it and left, and it's good that you listen either way. So I suppose if you are in any bit of a college kind of world, you can go reach out to a professor. But if you're in high school, I mean, I guess just, read books, see what interests you, and stay in love with a certain topic, and kind of always be pursuing that until you get that opportunity. And sometimes I know that there, like, for instance, there's some high schools around here right now that are doing these kind of budding scientist programs. So they get to come to the uni in our lab and shadow scientists. So I think if your college does that, that is great, and you can see, because some parts of research are very boring, to be fair. I think like you don't really see it, and you maybe need to know the full picture, because research, to do good research, you have to do the same thing over and over, because you want to keep it obviously tight design and make sure it's not being influenced by anything else. So it's a lot of monotony, but then in a lot of ways, it's a lot of variability. So I suppose taking advantage of shadowing if you're in high school, scientists, but yeah, I think just always staying up for anything in a way. I think just saying yes to opportunities is a good way to go.
Thank you for your advice and insight, and thank you so much for your presentation. I appreciate the effort, the time that you put into it, the thoroughness of your explanations. Like, yeah, hats off to you, Elizabeth. I'm gonna go ahead and
Oh,
stop
thank
the
you.
I'm gonna
Oh,
go
go
ahead and
ahead.
stop the recording if that's okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.